Here we go.
Good afternoon, CKLS, and welcome to the first day of Tech Week. I know it's Tuesday, but Mondays are hard for everybody. So today will be our first day of Tech Week. Tomorrow night is 6:30 p.m. and that's Trusty Tech Topics, right? There we go. Thursday will be Google Forms. There we go. And Friday will be Cool Apps, so you won't want to miss Friday, because that one tends to go longer than that 60 minutes. So, plan to hang around longer because you want to miss anything. So, I want to introduce you to one of my ARSL friends. I first wandered into a session where Phillip was doing a presentation on customer service. And afterwards we talked and we realized that we were borrowing customer service stuff from the people who came before us. So I think we borrowed from each other during that presentation. But Phillip is on the ARSL board. And so if you have any ARSL questions, don't hesitate to save those to the end today as well. But we are going to get Tech Week started off with our friend Phillip Carter. Take it away, introduce yourself, and teach us a whole bunch of cool stuff.
All right. So sorry, I had a bunch of noise-making apps open, so I decided I needed to close those. That's right, we did. We absolutely stole from some of the same people, which is totally acceptable in library land. It's not stealing. It is sharing a great idea. So I do a customer service presentation. I need to see if ARSL wants me to bother submitting that again. It would be the second or third year in a row I've done it, but it's always well attended. So in this one, we're going to talk about demystifying artificial intelligence, or AI as it's been shortened. We're going to talk about some terrifying things. We're going to talk about some not so terrifying things. But first, we need to set some expectations. Number one, I am not an AI expert. I just want y'all to understand, I am an advanced user who embraces technology maybe earlier than other people are comfortable with. And this is going to be me trying to make this make more sense to you. I gave a version of this talk at ARSL in 2023, and some of these slides I've tried to update them, but there's been an awful lot of changes since September. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things, but so I'm not going to focus as much maybe on the exact tools as I am going to talk about some concepts and some ideas around AI that will make your life a little simpler. First thing I'm going to do, though, in the chat, I'm going to ask you two questions, and I want you to give me on a scale of 1 to 10. First, how comfortable are you with using AI? So if you've had experience before, how comfortable? This is not how scared you are. That's a totally different question. How comfortable are you with the idea of using AI? I want to see these answers. 1 through 10. Gail. All right. Got a couple of 9s and 8. Got a bunch of 0s and 1s. I will tell you, you 0 to 4 folks, welcome. This is going to be your presentation. You 7 to 10. No one said a 10, but if somebody comes in with a 10, you might not learn as much in this as you had hoped. And if that is the case, I am sorry. There's only so much I can do in an hour. I'd love to create a more advanced AI presentation, but I feel like I'm going to have to make that a group project and get some other folks on board, is because one person trying to keep up with all, by the time I research one thing, something else has changed entirely and I can't present on it anymore. Okay, so here's my follow-up question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how scared of AI are you? With 0 being completely unafraid, 10 being terrified. All right. Seeing a bunch of 5s, some 8s, some 9s, got a couple of 10s. I get it. I totally get it. So my goal is to, whatever you're terrified, whatever your scared level is, I want to bring that down 3 or 4 numbers by the end of this. That's my real goal. I'm not going to get you to not be scared of it. The real reason I'm not going to get you to not be scared of it is because it's scary. There are some applications. There are some real world issues with AI. I'm going to go into this saying that I am not advocating for intellectual property theft. I am not advocating for trademark and copyright infringement. I am also not advocating for not doing your own work. What I am going to show you are some practical ways you can use the tools that exist now and use them to make your life easier. I'm not going to tell you that you need to go make a deep fake video of your mayor saying the library is going to get a 3 mil increase. I'm not telling you that, although that's a legitimate application of AI. So I'm going to try to, here we go. This is my information. It's my email address. If you have any questions after this is a good chance to get it. It's really easy. Phillip at, and then, lovely government email. Multiple dots, they all matter. Give you a chance to write that down or screenshot it or take a picture of however you like to do it. I did this presentation with a now rolled off ARSL board member named Erin Seahorn. And I apologize, it's not nearly as much fun without her being my counterpart. But I'm here to do my best. So what is AI? A lot of people have this wrong. The main reason most people have this wrong is because they have seen way too many movies. AI is not what you've seen in the movies. AI is the ability for a computer, essentially, we say machine, it's a computer, to perform tasks that we normally associate with human thinking and decision making and those kinds of cognitive abilities. It doesn't mean they are truly intelligent. If that day comes and we end up in the dystopian AI run future, you know what? They probably would be all about universal basic and universal health care, so I'm okay for it. Let's go. We just need to feed it more information about taking care of human beings, and maybe we'll be okay in the long run. I'm not here to worry about that future of AI because there is nothing. Look, y'all are all big deals. Y'all are all real big deals. In my heart, y'all are all real big deals. But there is zero that we are doing that is going to affect the outcome of AI in the future. We're not changing that narrative. Instead, we can look at some tools that are available to us and actually put them to use, rather than we could sit over here and continue trying to drag things along on a sled while everybody else is using the wheel. That's all I'm saying. So AI is the science of creating computers that can process information more like the human brain. We're going to talk about, I got to move some things. Talk about what large language model is. We're going to talk about large language model a lot because the majority of AIs that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis are large language models. What they are doing, they are scraping the internet. Here's that copyright and intellectual property argument. They have scraped the internet for information, and then they've stored it all. And then they start analyzing that information. And they do that to find patterns and repetitions and associations so that you can turn around and ask it, what year did Jennifer Lopez win her first Academy Award? And it can look it up for you. Don't trust that answer, by the way. I've not actually tried that question, but always don't trust AI for things you need actual facts. This is not your reference service. There's step number one. It can get you in the ballpark. Think of it like a little more intuitive Wikipedia. It can get you somewhere along the lines, but you shouldn't trust it as gospel. So large language models are deep learning algorithms that go through language, and they're neural networks. So they work, I'm going to use the term blockchains. Oh, but if you don't know what a blockchain is, that's okay, because I barely do. So, but essentially it has nodes across a network, and they interface with each other to share processing power and coordinate all of that data searching. Instead of one super powerful computer, it's got a bunch of moderately powerful computers. All right. And there's my cited source, because I'm a librarian. That's what I do. This is not AI. But this is what many, many people think of as AI. We're not quite to Skynet. Technically, if that movie were correct, we should have started Skynet in 1997, y'all, if you want to feel old, like I do. This is an AI. Google Translate is an AI that you have been using for years and did not know that it was AI. So the way Google Translate about 6 or 7 years ago freaked out the coders at Google. So here's how it works. The coders at Google trained their Translate to translate from English to Korean and back. They also trained it to translate from English to Japanese and back. So it can do both of those. So at some point, the computer learning, I'm going to use that term very loosely. We can talk about questions about that later. The computer learning in Google Translate had an aha moment where it realized, wait, I can do English to Korean and back. I can do English to Japanese and back. I bet I can do Japanese to Korean and back. And it just added it. It didn't ask the programmers, hey, do you want me to add this? Do you want me to make this an option? It just suddenly appeared as a translate option one day. And so when the coders went in to try to figure out, hey, where'd this come from? They realized that not only did it add it itself, but that it had created its own language to better communicate from those large language nodes. All of those nodes in the neural network were now communicating with a language the programmers didn't understand. And so it found faster ways and it became more efficient in doing the one job it was trained to do. That's AI. And this one we've been using since its inception. If any of you have ever had someone come to your library who speaks another language, I guarantee you used Google Translate to try to communicate with that patron. And it's getting better and better. It's now got a mode where you can just leave it open and it does live text translations as you're talking. It's fantastic. It makes me wonder why I'm working so hard to learn Spanish. But I am. Day 167 of a Duolingo streak. Let's go. All right. So let's talk about how Google Translate does it. Uses neural machine translation model. That's just extra words for what we just talked about. There's no pop quiz. You don't have to memorize this. That's okay. We're getting some concepts. Uses deep learning to produce better, more natural translations between languages. So here's one of the things it does. It actually compares the translations you've been getting to actual real-world examples of that language. That's why it is getting better every day at giving you the correct, not just direct translation, but the correct idioms. It will translate, I don't want to quite say colloquially, because that actually ends up getting much smaller. That's a little more granular than it's doing now. But if you say you want it to translate to Spanish, and you're translating a phrase into Spanish, where in Spanish that phrase doesn't make any sense, it will give you the phrase that makes sense to give the same idea in Spanish. I use Spanish just because obviously that's what's on my mind. Pick a language, and that's how it works. And then obviously the third, that's what I was talking about, how it figured out, oh, I can do Japanese to Korean. I just have this extra step. All right, looking to see if this is what AI is a little more like right now. for those of you that have seen it, I've actually never seen the movie, but I feel like I've seen it because all my friends have told me all about it. I feel like I know every scene. All right. AI has a lot of bad news out there, and I'm not going to cover it all. We talked about the problems with intellectual freedom. We talked about, not intellectual freedom, sorry, that's the librarian speaking, about intellectual property. We talked about the issues with copyright. There's laws being put in place. I believe Tennessee just passed a law that said that music created by AI was not eligible for copyright and royalties, which is fantastic. I haven't deep dove and read that law yet. But as a musician myself, I really appreciate that. So, number one, a U.S. district court has ruled that AI-generated art cannot be copyrighted, calming some fears of AI monopolizing the art industry away from artists. That's a big, big deal. And another thing that happened after I made these slides, and I forgot to get it in there, so those of you that follow the Screen Actors Guild strike from a few months ago, because they were planning on just paying for the likeness of an actor and then AI generating all of their appearances in movies, that's now been shut down. That's not happening. At least not for guild members. There's always a caveat in there. Universal Speech Translator. Meta has created a real-time translator for spoken language, enabling communication across language divides. It's supposedly even better than Google Translate. I have not actively used it because I've not had much of a need to go outside of Google Translate. Here's one of my favorites. Climate change. Pano.ai monitors mountains for wildfires and for conditions that can produce wildfires, and them doing so is decreasing response times to get those fires put out in high threat areas. It feels a little bit like Minority Report for wildfires. Yeah, you may not have done it yet, but you were gonna. We know you were. Not that Minority Report isn't scary as well. And then there's this one, the Earth Species Project. Group is working to map speech patterns of animals so that we can understand what they're saying. This is the kind of processing that AI is capable of. These are the directions it can take us in if used wisely and appropriately. I'm going to take a brief pause here, and I'm going to try something. I want y'all to see something. Actually, I meant to show this earlier, and it is speaking of Boston. Here we go. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen. I'm going to share a different screen. I'm going to share YouTube. This is me rolling in the TV on the cart. All right. So how many of you, I can only see some faces all at once. So how many of you are familiar with Boston Dynamics and their works in robotics? If those of you that were at ARSL, any of you at ARSL in Chattanooga 2 years ago, did you happen to walk through the corridor when they had the little yellow robotic dog walking through? That was with another conference. That was not with us. They just happened to be in the same building. That is Boston Dynamics. That is this company. Well, they are working on a humanoid robot. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to hope the video goes. Gail, I can see you. So if you hear the audio, just nod. Okay, let me check, see if I can share the sound. This is always problematic when I go to share sounds. Sorry, Joy, I can't check that book out to that patron. They're not one of mine.
Recognize that sequence right away, did you?
Immediately. All right. So let me see if I can figure out this sound real quick. Let's see. Audio settings. Sharing screen. I'm sorry, I really should have tested this before.
It's technology week. If something didn't happen, we wouldn't be ready for technology week.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. I may not be able to. Host, whether that's Patty or Gail, I'm not sure. See if there's a setting that allows you to let me share audio.
Andy or Liz, are you looking to see if there's a setting so Philip can share audio?
I don't see anything. Is there not the option in your share screen to share audio with the screen?
It is not giving me that option.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see any option for that either.
Oh, let me see if that did it. Let's see. I'm going to play it here and let's see what happens.
There we forgot my tools again. Such a show off.
So I share that because, and I'm going to go back to my presentation here. Let's see. I wish it was more intuitive and it just knew what I wanted to share. That'd be great. And then I just click one button. I share that robot for a reason. Because to a lot of people, that looks like the beginning of Terminator. Because that was impressive. Now, the thing to remember there, so Boston Dynamics is what I call an ethical technology company. They're very, very adamant about how they do robotics. In fact, they are leading the way in trying to develop legislation that makes it illegal to weaponize robots. So they don't take defense contracts. They don't take any of that kind of stuff. Now, that doesn't mean there's not anybody else out there doing that. There are companies like Tesla, Meta. Who else has one? NASA has one. And some people are like, well, why'd they have to make it humanoid? Why'd they have to make it bipedal? Because we live in a world designed for people who walk on 2 feet. And so if you want the most versatile robot you build, you need to make them bipedal as well and be able to traverse multiple terrains. You saw how it saw that there was no link between the ramp that it initially went up, or the stairs, and the scaffolding. So it had to find something to create a ramp. That robot is not AI. It is taught to look for those things. It is a highly programmed, highly specific set of skills. It can't learn from things it's done in the past. It doesn't pick up grudges every time they hit it with a stick to try to knock it over to see if it can keep its balance. Maybe one day that'll be a thing, but right now it's not. And it's one of those things that you add AI to something like that, and suddenly you could have a situation that gets interesting really fast. So that's why I'm here to say I'm not here to take away all your fears of that, however far down the future that's going to be. But there are great companies out there fighting to not make that happen. Now, we're going to move on. Oh, I did have one more. Storm predictions. Meteorologists are able to generate synthetic storms and study tornadoes. Kansas, y'all ought to appreciate that. I know here in Mississippi we do as well. They can actually create fake storms using AI data and identify the precursors for a tornado that normally we had people driving, lunatics, honestly, driving into tornadoes with instruments to try to study those tornadoes and to understand them more and to predict them. Now they're creating a way we can do that without putting people at risk. Those lunatics are still going to do it, but they don't have to anymore. Now it's become the thrill-seeking sport that it truly is. I saw a couple of storm chaser vehicles just yesterday here in Mississippi. Mississippi, if I remember the numbers correct, gets as many or more tornadoes per square mile than Oklahoma. Most people don't think about that of Mississippi. The problem in Mississippi is we have trees, so we never see them coming. They're just on you. AI also gives us heartwarming photos like Snoop Dogg as a librarian. There was a whole series of these that made the run on the internet. I think it's adorable. I wish it were real. Unfortunately, it is not. So here's the bottom line. AI is a tool that can be used to process, understand, and utilize extremely large data sets. That's the key to what AI does. Could you imagine when we finally have an AI that will analyze all your annual statistics for you and just pump all that data out for you? We've got a lot of tools that are already getting really close. Discoveries, techniques, and sometimes just make us laugh. All right, so here's where we're going to take a quick little pause. Do you have any questions that have popped up during that moment? Instead of waiting at the end to get all the questions, I decided I'm going to put these pauses in the middle. I'm going to pop open the chat so I can see. Anybody have anything I didn't cover? Concerns? All right. I wish I got a little bubble that said if somebody was typing. That would be really helpful. Awesome.
We'll let you know if somebody pops in.
Perfect. So let's talk about graphics tools. My three favorites when we designed this presentation were Canva, DALL-E, and Midjourney. DALL-E is now in its third iteration. That is that is OpenAI's image generator, which is good because I'll be honest, this version was terrible. These three images were all generated with the same prompt. We wanted a librarian as a superhero. And this is what Canva, DALL-E, and Midjourney gave us. All three of these are better now than when I generated these images. They didn't get worse. Now we had to generate, Aaron and I had to generate a lot of images to get to the Canva and the DALL-E one. The Midjourney one was one of the first ones that came out, and it's spectacular. Midjourney is maybe the most powerful AI image generating platform out there. It also tends to be the most complicated to use because you have to use Discord to use it. Those of you that know what Discord is, I see you gamers, I know. Discord is a chat and text-based service similar to Slack, but for actual Slackers. It's wonderful. I use it for a lot of different things both in work life and in my personal life. So ask Midjourney. You can subscribe to Midjourney or you can use it for free. The subscriptions start at $10 a month. You get faster processing, priority in the queue, because what you do is you put your request into Discord and then you wait for your turn to use the hardware, to use the processing power to come through. So you're not going to get an immediate response. It's a little complicated. Dolly and Canva, you get immediate responses, but you see the quality difference in the images you generate. I have not tried Dolly 3 yet because it does require subscription. But they have made claims that it does not allow you to ask for art in the style of a living artist. I feel like that's the smallest of olive branches that they could have thrown out there. But that does exist. So there is some real conversations about intellectual property and stealing from artists that they're really, really trying to push forward. Canva, we're going to talk about a lot more here in just a moment. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth there because since we created this presentation, Canva has just sold out to go AI. And so we'll talk about some more there. Here are some other tools that I have recently learned about that I've not used. Adobe Firefly. If you already have the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, you have access to Adobe Firefly in Illustrator or Photoshop or as a web-based program. It's already part of your package. I do have Adobe Creative Cloud, but I've not really used it because I've been going to Canva at this point. And we'll talk about Canva here, again, like I said, in a moment. Topaz Lab Photo AI is really remarkable, really, really powerful. It doesn't create images from nothing. Instead, it can take the images you already have and enhance them. I took it, and I didn't get it slipped into this presentation, but as a demo, I took a highly pixelated photo from the early days of camera phones, and it was able to put it into HD and completely refocus and touch it up and create a modern, high-quality image. Now, it had to do some guesswork to create that image, but it was pretty accurate to my memory of that moment that I used. But it does cost you something. So they have 3 technically: photo AI, video AI, and image scaling. The image scaling is the one I'm talking about. And I'm really sorry that this font that I use turns $ into S's. That is not S199. That is $199. And then a video AI is $299, and for just the image scaling is $99. And Dream Studio is another really interesting, that's new to me, AI generation tool. And I might show you a little bit of that one. I do love that it offers the option to include negative prompts. You can tell it what you don't want. And that's a new feature I've not seen in a lot of places. Narrative tools. Here's where we're going to spend a lot of time. And most of the demo section of this presentation. Narrative tools. You have Bard and you have ChatGPT, or you did. Bard is now called Gemini, and it's awful. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't like it. I liked Bard. I don't like Gemini. They've got a lot of work to do to get it back to the quality that it was before, but it seems like Google is taking some steps to be a little more conscious about theft and stealing copyrighted and intellectual property, those kinds of things. So it's a little more limited now as they rebuild, keeping that in mind. It may be better tomorrow. That's how these things work. They could release it literally tomorrow and it's better. But I use ChatGPT, which is made by OpenAI, who also have Dolly. It was one of the earliest ones available. It is available entirely free. You can sign in with your Google email account. You can get a paid version. I do have friends who have the paid version. It's slightly faster responses. You can do, if you're using it a lot, if you're an AI power user, a term I hate, you might want the 4. So let's go forward. Okay. I'll cover a couple other tools real fast. And I have not double checked some of these since I made this, but Bored Humans had a bunch of unique AI tools. InspiroBot was it creates demotivational posters for you. It was one of my favorite that we saw. We couldn't use most of the ones we found made in the presentation, but I highly recommend that one. That's a great waste of time. IMG Creator is good. It's another image generator. Flicky.ai is a video AI generator with music and stock video. So if you want to create videos about your library and you just want like B-roll footage, you just want something with music playing over it or something you can narrate over the top of, you can do it with that. And it's done with stock music and image. So you're actually doing it ethically and responsibly. Mubert creates royalty-free music. Once again, AI generated music can't be copyrighted. So of course it's royalty-free. I've used Mubert to make podcast bumper music before. It was a little unwieldy. I'm hoping they've updated a little bit since the last time I used it. And Simplified. I need to get a website there because Simplified's a hard term to search for. Simplified had one of my favorite tools. They had a presentation generator. I asked it to generate a budget request presentation for my city. And of course, I had to actually put all the data in there, but it generated a like 5 or 6 slide presentation. And it gave me some really good ideas for how to make it engaging. And it basically created a template for exactly what I wanted. And then I can plug all my data in there. I loved that tool. All right, we're going to back up here. This is where I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. And we're going to go into the live demo portion of this. So let me open up Canva and ChatGPT. Because is it just simplified.com? Thank you, Gail. So let's look at ChatGPT. You can see all sorts of stuff over here on the left that I've created in the past. It does keep your past generated content. Some of it is hilariously silly. One of my favorite things to do, let's see, write a 2-stanza poem about Kansas public libraries in the style of Edgar Allan Poe. In Kansas's heart, where prairies spread amidst the wheat, where sunsets bleed, there stands a haven quiet, serene, a refuge from life's frantic scene. Within its walls, the whispers sigh, pages turn neath the watchful eye. In Kansas public libraries, Poe's spirit finds its rest, a sanctuary for the soul, where weary minds invest. It's great. And I did it for National Poetry Week month, which is this month. So welcome to the last day of April. Just super fun, super silly stuff. I've had it here's one. I'm gonna put myself out there. My friends at the library wanted me to do a book review for them for they do a monthly book review. And I just did not have the time, y'all. So I picked a book I had read and I told ChatGPT to write it for me. And then I edited it to add the little details that it missed that I really wanted to add, that I wanted to note. Should I feel bad about this? Maybe. Is this academic intellectual writing? No, absolutely not. So I don't feel that bad about it. I've had it write press releases for me. Here's one. We had an author event with Felder Rushing. Those of you who listen to NPR's Gestalt Gardner might know who Felder Rushing is. He is a Mississippian most of the time. The rest of the time he lives in Lancashire, England. And I had it generate a press release for me. And it does it very, very well. It even created a quote for me, which I then read and was like, oh, I'd say that. Or if I wouldn't, I fix it. So let's do some actual live. We're going to do a new one. So those are fun. To me, those are fun. Those are simple. But here's one. Create a photography and videography in the public library policy. those of us that had to deal with First Amendment audits are familiar with having to write these policies. And it will write you a fully fledged policy. I'm not going to go through and read it all, but it is there. And then if I'm going to pick a section of it, let's see. Here it is. Number 3, they always add this. Respect for privacy. Patrons and staff have the right to privacy. Individuals should not be photographed or recorded without their explicit consent. Now, technically speaking, I know what it's saying there, but technically library staff are public employees, and they actually lose that expectation of privacy by working in a public building. Well, limited public forum, if you want to get into the law. So what I say is rewrite this policy, removing staff privacy concerns. And now it should say, there it is, number 3, patrons have the right to privacy. Individuals should not be photographed or recorded without their explicit consent. This is your new secretary. And we all need a good secretary, right? Yes, Michael. So, yeah, exactly. So you're right about a limited public forum. So this is what I did with ours, rewrite this policy with the understanding that public libraries are limited public forums, not public buildings. So, introduction. As limited public forums, public libraries are dedicated to facilitating learning, community engagement, exploration. To ensure a welcoming environment for all patrons, the library has established guidelines regarding photography and videography within its premises. Now, for those of you worried about this, 1, don't take this immediately to your board without reading through the entire thing to make sure that it's accurate for your situation. 2, it's doing exactly what we all do. We all email or call or text our friends and say, hey, do you have a policy on this that I can use as a boilerplate to start my policy? And that's awesome. A lot of librarians don't have that network, especially early on career librarians don't have that network yet. This is a great way to get that for you so that you have a tool. Let's talk about social media prompts. So we're about to go into May. May is going to have Memorial Day. Generate 10 social media prompts for the week of, for the week leading up to Memorial Day for Starkville Public Library. That's my public library. And there's 10 possible prompts for your social media. It just wrote over a week's worth of social media posts for you. Rewrite these to include appropriate emojis. There it is. How about this? Even more emojis. It added extra emojis for every one of these. Here's a tool I've used it for. For example, we host a trivia. Oh, sorry, reject that. We host a trivia once a month at a local sports bar. Give me 10 hard questions about Star Wars Episode 1. There we go. Give me 10 more questions about Star Wars Episode 1 and include answers. These are tools that save you time. Give me just one moment. All right. So, anyone have, and I'm looking at the chat here real quick. Yes, it will also, Gail, I'm going to hope there's no misspelled words, but I can't promise. But I'm also going to say there are some other really interesting things you can add to it. I'm going to give a simple one, y'all, because without a specific example, it's hard for me to do this more appropriately. Give me a formula for Excel that totals all cells between A1 and, I don't know, G10 and produces the average total for numerical data. There's your Excel formula. Now that's a super simple formula. Rewrite that formula to exclude all non-positive numbers. And there's your formula to do that same thing. And you can just copy from here to get your formula. There are so many things that AI can do to make your life easier that, yes, you can still be concerned with the future applications and the ramifications of big businesses using this kind of power. But that's not a good enough reason to not reclaim some of your time in your day back. Doing some of those menial tasks. Here's that one that's not fun. Generate a rejection letter for an applicant for a circulation clerk position at Starkville Public Library. Anybody had to write these letters and hate it every single time? It's a really good one. After careful consideration of all applications received, we regret to inform you that we have chosen to pursue other candidates whose qualifications more closely align with the needs of the role. We want to express our gratitude for your interest in contributing to our library. Please note that the selection process was highly competitive, and while we were impressed with your background and experience, we ultimately had to make difficult decisions. There's no reason not to use this as a jumping off point for anything you need to do and save yourself some real time. All right, so I'm going to move over. I'm going to get out of ChatGPT. And then I'm going to go over to Canva. So you're about to see my personal Canva. I'm not responsible for all the things that are here. This is not my library Canva. This is mine. I host a podcast and a YouTube channel that's all about guitar. So you see lots of guitar related stuff. You'll also see this presentation and trivia night questions. We don't have time to go through trivia. I know all of you want to right now. So under apps in Canva, when I first started writing this with Aaron last year, Canva had exactly one AI related app. Now it has a lot. We're going to click See All. These are all of the AI-powered apps that Canva has available to you if you have a Canva account. So we're going to pick one. You can do voiceovers. If you don't want to record yourself saying something, you can do high-quality voiceovers using the app in Canva. It will translate your text into a voiceover. Let me pick a good one. Let me see. Here we go. Ultra Real, using a new design. We're going to do an Instagram post. All right. A dark and mysterious image of a public library after hours with the sun shining. I'm sorry, with the last rays of a sunset shining through the windows. Something, oh, it's down right now. Well, of course it is, because it wouldn't be Tech Week if, let's try, okay. That is unfortunate that I can't demonstrate it for you. Okay, that's fine. We're going to instead, in that case, let me see what else I can find. Okay, let's see if all of their AI apps are down right now. Create a logo for the, not log, logo for the Starkville Public Library that implies professionalism and we'll say professionalism. We'll see if it likes that. No, they're all down. So unfortunately, that's a good 5 minutes of my presentation I can't use. So instead, let's go to DALL-E. And I'll tell you why I hate it. All right, first thing I want to do, make sure that you are seeing this screen. Okay, good. So this is DALL-E 2. Like I said, DALL-E 3 is available, but it is it's not free. So we're going to use the free one. Oh, come on. This is an unnecessary extra step. That's okay. I logged into all these earlier. And it just took me back here. Let's try this one. Try this link. There we go. Okay, so this is DALL-E. Let's try that same prompt. After hours in a library with the fading sunset coming through the windows. You see over there on the right all the images I've ever created with DALL-E, right? It's pretty good, y'all. I actually particularly like this one. This one looks like the light is coming from the books themselves. I don't really care for that one. This one isn't bad either. Both of these are pretty solid. I want to talk to the construction company that built these windows. They might have been drunk, but that's okay. But there you go. That's suddenly the background image for a social media post if you wanted it to be. Just that simple. And Canva is better when it's up and running. That's the first time I've ever seen it down, so I had no reason to expect it to be down. All right, I'm going to stop there. Any questions? Anyone have anything you want me to try in the minutes? I cannot remember, Gail, I meant to look this up. Are we at an hour and a half for this presentation? 1 hour. Oh, so we're approaching the end here. I think I prepared for an hour and a half. So we're going to stop this share. Actually, I think I can just go back over. And we'll go back. We're going to get through these last few things and I will save. Oh, yes, Adobe can clean up audio recordings. There's a few other ways you can do that with AI, depending on who you use for audio recordings. There's also a couple of software options. If you're really into audio, I would look into a company called Isotope. They have a lot of tools for that, and they are integrating AI into their tools as well. So let's talk about the dangers real quick. Not all AI use prompts the same way. You have to learn the ways an individual AI interprets your input to get better results. Some want a lot of description. Some don't want a lot at all. If you give it too much, you get some really weird results. Hands and faces tend to be hard for AI to generate. You're going to see a lot of 6 and 7 fingered people in AI generated images of people. You're going to occasionally get a cyclops when you're doing images of people's faces. And also the copyright issues, those kinds of things. And also don't trust the text blindly. Always double check. Always read through whatever it's generated, because it's not going to be 100% correct. We're going to talk about a thing called AI delusion, or no, I'm getting that wrong. Essentially, AI is really good at making things up. Even if it doesn't have the information you want, it will give you something. And it doesn't care if it's accurate. I went to a really great presentation last year at our Mississippi Library Association conference where an academic librarian did a massive study on AI-generated citations and found that a very, very low percent were 100% accurate. Most of them either made up the author, made up the article, or made up the publication, or some variation of those three, including just getting the wrong ones with, like, oh, that article does exist, but it wasn't by that author and it was in this publication kind of thing. So be careful with those sources, and also be sure if you're assisting patrons who are trying to use it for citations that you warn them. If you want to know if something was generated by AI or not, there are some key phrases you can look for, but I'm going to give you a fun one. If it's an advertising situation that you're looking at, if they use the word elevate or delve, they're almost certainly AI generated, because only D&D players say the word delve ever. All right. Now I finished on time relatively. Now I have time for questions, like 3 minutes.
If you've got a microphone, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask away, or go ahead and ask in the chat.
Please do. I know I threw a lot at y'all real fast because it's a lot to cover and it's constantly changing.
Are you actively using this stuff at your library?
Every day. Every single day. I use ChatGPT the most. I would say it is almost always open on my computer at any given time. So that is a valid wet thing that I just do all the time. Sometimes I use it just because I know who I am as a person. I don't start from a blank slate very well. Sometimes I just need a prompt to get me going. Incidentally, by the way, with November, it's on the horizon, but it's getting closer on us with NaNoWriMo coming. You could generate your own novel prompts to toss out to your writing communities for them to start writing stories based on. And you don't have to generate them yourself. You could have ChatGPT do it.
So Philip, when you're creating posts for social media, what sort of guidelines do you have for employees? Do you have a process or a procedure for that?
No, honestly. Well, we do have some general policies around social media just in general. But if they are doing things with ChatGPT, they basically know the exact same things that I have told y'all. Feel free to use it. I encourage them to use it as much as they want to. Just please double check the information you're putting out there. Honestly, my staff are so creative. I don't think they use it all that often, to be honest. They've gotten really good at our social media. So
Nice.
all right, let me see. I have to see this image.
Is it the right thing to do ethically if you're creating something with AI? So say like a social media post, to put a disclaimer created by AI or something like that.
I think that would be just fine. I would not see a problem with that. The one caveat I would give you, and I've seen that a little more often. For example, I'm on YouTube, And YouTube now has a checkbox that says, is any of this content created using AI? You have to give a disclaimer. I would say you can do that if you feel like you really should divulge that.
What
I
the
would
book
think about
sounds
it on
like is the ethics are starting to be developed around that for the creative
Yes.
world in particular.
Yes. Now I would take a step back though and really think about what you're creating and putting out there. I don't know. I mean, some of y'all may be. I'm not creating anything of any high lasting value or, that kind of content that I really feel like they need to know this was AI generated. Because also there is the potential pushback that you may receive as people read, oh, a library's just creating everything with AI. Why do they need staff? I think about those kinds of things. So
it's interesting. Wouldn't have thought about that right away.
Yeah.
There's
only because I talk to so many librarians across the country who are in such challenging situations, I tend to instantly go, okay, what's the challenge that this would present if we did it? So I would say be conscious of it and consider that as a possibility. And then decide if you need to mention that something was created with AI. I would say if you created images of people, I would absolutely say that it was done with AI. Anybody else?
Liz, were you going to say something?
Yeah, but I lost it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Liz.
It happened.
Oh, hopefully you'll come up with it again. So as Mary Beth shared, this Kansas sunset with a windmill and sunflower field, it's sort of a windmill. It's sort of. AI tends to have AI and just computer learning in general. There's a rule that I can never remember the name for. That's somebody's name that coined the concept. Simple things are hard for computers and AI. Simple things are very, very hard. Knowing what a windmill looks like should be a simple thing when you've got a database of windmill images to choose from. But then it gives you what, honestly, I wouldn't trust to walk within 100 feet of. But hard things tend to be easy. Things like analyzing literally thousands and thousands of data sets together to give you results. That's what it does well. I really should learn the name of that concept and who coined it, but I don't. All right. Final question then. And if you come up with another question, go ahead and type it in or get ready to talk. After this, after seeing all this, after hearing all this, listening to this know-it-all Mississippian spout off a bunch of data and a bunch of information, yes or no? Very simple question. Yes or no? I feel more confident in trying to use AI. Awesome. See other side effect of doing this as a webinar. I know people are already in other windows trying this stuff out. I already expect that. 3. All right. Now here's my fun question. Yes or no? I am less scared of AI now. Because I would totally understand a no here, because there may have been some applications I brought up that you hadn't even considered. Yes, Karen, that's where I am. I'm not scared to use it. I'm not scared to use the tools that are available to us. I'm scared of the tools I don't know about. I'm scared of the applications that exist that I don't know. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you letting me talk to y'all. I'm going to go back to, I have one of these windows open. And So many windows. All right, and I'm going to back it up to as we close out, and if Patty or Gail, y'all have anything to close out, I'll put my my email back up here in case anybody
That
didn't
works.
get it off the top.
That's good.
All right.
Philip, around
Philip.
here, we would call that a patty amount of windows open on a computer. That's what, as you can see, Andy's laughing because he always says you have too much stuff and you have a patty amount of windows open on a computer.
Well, I am in good company then, because that is my computer on a regular basis.
Just how you think. Nice.
Oh yeah, I didn't even give y'all the caveat that I have ADHD and sometimes go off on tangents.
It never
tried
would
to
have
rein
been
it in.
us.